right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the St. Johnsbury School. My name is Jeremy Ross. I'm the principal here at the St. J School, and our superintendent asked that I start this tonight. Just a couple quick announcements before we get started. If you are new to our auditorium, we have a few exits in case there's an emergency. There's one over here to your left. There's one in the back, and then your entrance that you came in. Bathrooms are down the hallway on your left just before you get to our small gym. And we are going to begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are able, we ask that you stand. Flags behind me. Remove your hats. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I will turn it over to Superintendent Karen Conroy for our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Karen Conroy. I'm the superintendent for St. Johnsbury School District, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm not sure how many folks we have online, Charlotte. Do we have anyone joining us remotely? Okay. Oh, perfect. I'm only checking because we called this meeting to order as like a school board meeting. It really is a community forum, and because we have a quorum, we had to post it. But this is the opportunity for the community to really ask questions. And we want to be very open and transparent, and so this is an opportunity. I was hoping we'd have more seats filled, but even the folks that are joining us online, feel free to ask questions, and we will try to the best of our ability to answer them. And so this evening, what I'm prepared, which is very similar if you attended our meeting on Monday, a lot of information, maybe not at such a level of detail, but we will give you some general information, the profile of our school district, our budget development process, share our draft budget, estimates for the tax rate, and we are anticipating a surplus, and we'll have that conversation towards the end of the meeting along with some of our facility needs, and again, give you time for public comment and any questions you may have. So our vision for the St. Johnsbury School District is that every St. J student will follow their unique path to become a respectful, caring, lifelong learner who positively contributes to the global community. We're on our 4th year of a strategic plan that aligns with this vision, and we've set up many different actions and strategies in order to meet this vision. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. And just to share our current profile of the school district, we have over 1,000 students that we're currently serving in grades pre-K through 12. We have pre-K through 8th grade, 650 students. 9 through 12, there's approximately 383. These are current numbers. And we have our one school in our community, but we also serve 53, which is included in that 650 count, 53 universal pre-K students, and 8 privately owned programs in our community, in our local communities. We also thought we would share where our high schools students are attending. We have some attending public schools and some attending independent schools. The majority of our community attends the St. Johnsbury Academy right here in our community at 80%. 9% attend Linden Institute. We have 6% of our student population at Arlington School. 4% attend other schools. The regulations have changed, but students were grandfathered to still continue to choose private organizations outside the state. That's changed under the new law, but they'll be grandfathered till they graduate. So we do have a number of students that are attending out of state and other schools throughout the state. And then we do have 1% of our students attending Danville High School, which is our local public high school. When we look at the demographics of our current enrollment, again, for those 1,033 students, 59%, and there's multiple ways we can look at economically disadvantaged, but this is the free and reduced percentage of our students in our school district is at 59%. And when I mention that as a number, it means that their household incomes are at or below 130% of the federal poverty level, and their household incomes are between 130 and 185% of the federal poverty level. So we do have the students in our community do qualify and are considered for free and reduced meals. Even though we offer it free for everyone, it's just a way that we categorize these students. And it also has an impact on weightings for our community. Of those 1,000 students, we also have 37% of our students that are on IEPs, which are individual education plans, or 504s. 26% of the students are on IEPs and 11% are on 504s. And when we reference this, for those that aren't familiar with special education, it's really students that have a disability that requires an accommodation or some sort of specialized instruction. We do have a number of students that are at a point where they're going to be considered eligible very shortly. They're going through testing right now. There's like 17 students, so we anticipate that number to be rising. And our current percentage of students experiencing homelessness is at 2% currently. Any percentage is really sad, but we do have 2% of our students. So that was just kind of the basic overview of our students. This next section, I'll just mention our budget development process. And again, it is aligned with our strategic plan goals. We really focus on our goals. We review these goals annually with our school board. And we try to make our decisions on our budget allocations based on these goals, along with specific needs of our students. And so we're looking at the current student academic needs. We're also looking at, which you don't normally hear about, but it's the social, emotional, and also behavioral needs of our students. We have spent quite a bit of time trying to bring in stakeholder input. We've tried to engage the community in conversations, and I appreciate those that have participated here in person and those attending online this evening. We've done a number of surveys. We've surveyed students, which was very interesting to get the feedback from students and how they feel about attending a school and what's important to them, along with parents. Staff has responded at high percentages, and also our community and our parents. And we've reviewed that feedback as a leadership team and shared also summary information back with the school board. And so this is all part of our development process. And just to give you an idea of the timeline, this process actually starts way back at the new school year, back in July, when we're looking at our enrollment, staffing projections, discussing potential changes over the summer. October, again, our Director of Finance, Jacob Wood, does an excellent job looking at preparing the upcoming budget numbers. We talk about presenting a first draft of our budget back in November, December. We really utilize the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee reports back to the school board on a regular basis. We reviewed and presented some drafts of this proposal that I'm sharing with you this evening. And again, take in stakeholder input during this whole process. And so we're getting close to our deadline. I would have hoped we could have made a decision on Monday, but we're still trying to understand the moving targets that we have. And we have set a deadline that we would need to have our articles for the town to put in the town report by January 19th. So our next school board meeting is January 19th, and that's where we hope to make a decision. And a lot of that is taking feedback from the community in order to do so. So there are some assumptions in this proposal that we have. We are in a negotiating year, so we do have a placeholder for salaries. Our negotiations has been progressing right along. We are meeting again on Thursday, but right now we just have a placeholder for our union staff. We are anticipating some cuts, or I should say the Agency of Education has recommended that we only budget at 80% of our federal funds. We have upped it to 85%. So our budgeting is impacted by, not knowing what revenues we'll have coming to us. So it has impacted the local fund. And also, we do not have high school tuition announced tuition yet. In order to put in the budget, we've put in a 5% placeholder at this point. What we have included in this budget, I would say it's pretty close to being a level service budget. We do have an educator that we're adding in here for special education. I will talk in a few slides about, or actually the next slide, about a pilot program we've been doing this year. And we took a teacher out of the school, so we would want to replace that teacher this year. The need is still there to support the number of students that we have in our building. We currently, in this current year, have had to hire an additional 6 special education paraprofessionals. This is required by IEPs, and they're currently on staff. Students come and go all the time, so this is our best guess at this point on the needs based on the needs of our students. We've also put in the budget to increase speech and language pathologists up to currently they're at 40% of the time. We're looking at hiring them 100%. They're called FTEs, full-time equivalent. So we're looking at increasing that by a 0.6, which impacts our budget. If we're looking at a level service budget, that would be an increase. And the last is hiring one more custodial/maintenance position to support the school for second shift. I briefly mentioned our pilot program. It's called Catamount Community Connections Program. We've had several presentations to the board throughout the school year. We've had great success in this pilot program that we're doing this year, and it's really an extension of the school. It's a therapeutic classroom that's designed to meet specific student needs. And we're planning to expand that to enroll more students. And it's really a way not only to avoid costly out-of-district placements, but it's really has savings in transportation, and it keeps students close and connected to their community. and also provides access. So ideally, these are for really young students. We have limited places for them to go. Most of the programs that we have access to are over an hour away, and they're full. And so this was really based on a need that we are experiencing now. And with the success we've had partnering with NKHS as our mental health provider, our designated agency, they're really wrapping around services for these students. And it's really amazing how, as two organizations are working so closely together, you can see it in the joy that the students are experiencing. They still have their struggles some days, but they're coming to school every day and looking forward to their school and proud of the school that, or I should say the classroom that they're attending. We're limited this year. We would have expanded the pilot program a little bit more, but we're limited on the facility. For those of you that don't know, NKHS purchased the Lincoln Street School, it was called. And so they found that they had to make a number of changes to meet code for a classroom to be put in it related to the school. And so they are working on that, and so hopefully next year we can expand it. And we've also had conversations as a region. I can tell you Kingdom East, CCSU, they're all interested if we have space that they could come and send students to this program as well. So I think it's, again, I think it's going to be cost containment down the road. It decreases our reliance on those high-cost tuition placements, and again, reducing long-distance transportation. And again, it serves as that extension of the school. And it also allows us to tap into funding from NKHS. They have access to a program that's called Success Beyond 6, and it allows them to draw down a federal Medicaid matching program. So it reduces our local costs because a portion of it is grant funded. So I think it's been a win-win. We're learning a lot. We're glad we started out very small, but I think we're going to be able to grow this program successfully. And you know, our goal is to get those students what they need at a very, very young age, and then reintroduce them back into the school. And so being close and in our community, we have that, and we also have, as our designated agency, NKHS, can also work on programs that help support families too. So that the end goal would also be utilizing their services in our community and expanding to help families and getting them connected with the people that can help them with any items at home or their own services. So in general, our proposed budget is reflecting a 6.53% increase. And if the board, the numbers might have changed just slightly in our rounding, and we continue to have changes, or very minimal changes, but 2 students can impact the change when it comes to calculating these percentages, and especially with the tax rates. So you might see a tiny, slight little change in the numbers that we mentioned on Monday. But this budget was developed carefully, focusing on required costs. And I say required costs, it's really the students that are moving here, the students that we are currently serving and their needs. We have focused the budget on supporting them. Also keeping in mind long-term sustainability. And there are a number of still unknowns that are not final to calculate the tax rate, but I'm going to share with you this evening the best information we have based on the current parameters that are available. So if you look at our expenditures compared to last year, we are up that 6.53%, which is $1,973,664 increase. Our anticipated revenues is down by 0.29. We are experiencing our third year of declining revenue from special education and the census block grant. We do hope in this next legislative session that they do take in consideration how they're going to fund special ed going forward. It's been year after year after year. There's a significant shortfall in our revenues based on the percentage of students that we are serving. But we are anticipating, when you look at it completely, just $15,000 less in our anticipated revenues. And so the remaining balance that we would seek from the Ed Fund is $26,955,956. Is really 1.9, almost $2 million is the variance compared to last year, which is a 7.97% increase. The primary cost drivers for this increase is around salaries. This budget proposal has an increase of 10.7% increase in salaries from last year. This does include an addition of the special educator and the 6 para-educators, and also the SLP that we would have full-time, so it's 7.6 more people, and also the addition of the custodian position. So this is $1 million increase. The second cost driver is benefits related to all of our benefits that employees receive. It's a 16.6% increase over last year. And we did recently update all of our benefits to reflect the changes that took place for January 1. So it's current based on current staffing. And then the third primary driver, cost driver, when you look at total costs, is our high school tuition. For regular education high school students, and we're looking at estimated an additional $526,422, which is a 6.4% increase over last year. And we are anticipating an additional 3 students in this budget, but majority of the cost is just estimating a 5% increase. So when you look at this, kind of the overall, the whole budget, you can see what portions of the budget, it's kind of summarized into sections. From miscellaneous to salaries and benefits. Our salaries is 25% of our budget. For general salaries, our benefits for those positions is 10% of our budget, which is $3.1 million. Salaries for special education is 9% of the budget at $3 million, and those benefits are 1.2 to the budget. We have general transportation is $678,500. We have categorized here special ed transportation, which we're looking at almost $500,000, which is 1% of our budget. Contracted services for special ed is 6% of the budget. We have pre-K tuition. This is tuition that we pay for universal pre-K, so students attending those 8 different programs. We actually have students attending 10 programs. We're only able to fund 8 of those programs based on the requirements for universal pre-K, but that is the amount that we have to pay those private programs for our pre-K attendance. Special education tuition, this is the one that I do think the pilot program will have a small impact on reducing, keeping those students locally, not paying, we pay tuition, it could be $60,000, it could be $120,000, could be higher, based on the student, based on the distance, based on the need. Then we have our tuition estimates at $8.7 million for regular ed high school tuition. That's 27% of our budget. We still have a bond payment of $140,000, and our supplies budget is $535,800, and contracted service, and I might have already mentioned miscellaneous, but that's kind of the snapshot in a visual pie chart. What we've talked a lot with the board and kind of reviewed all these categories, and they had asked in our meeting on Monday to kind of break up that pie chart in those categories into areas that we have control over, meaning local decision-making takes place. There's also where we have kind of limited control, and then basically no control. A lot of it could be, announced tuition set by the state, special education tuition, those areas. So if you look at general services, which is in the red, which is our supplies, our contracted service, miscellaneous, and salaries and benefits. And I know some of our board members say, you don't have control over benefits, which is true, because that is state negotiated, but it's all based on staffing, right? So if we reduce staff, we reduce benefits. So we went back and forth on where to place that category when it comes to benefits, because benefits is 10% of the budget. The white area, which we have down here for general transportation, special ed salaries and benefits. Again, these are very limited in control. I know our practices, our MTSS policies, our procedures, the things we're doing in our building, we can make changes to those, but right now that's a process, and we are working very hard on making improvements on how we provide direct services to students. But that is hard because it's all based on student need. And then again, the dark gray area, we have to pay our bond payment. We have to pay the rates that they set for tuition, contracted services, transportation. We're very limited on what options we have for transportation, especially for students that need to be transported for special education. And then our high school tuition numbers. Again, those are announced at the state level, and we pay what they're approved for. So when it comes to calculating the tax rate based on this budget, again, I had mentioned before we have some placeholders, like we're in the process of negotiations. We heard a little earlier last year than it was required to be put out on high school tuition rates. So if we get that information, we can make the changes in our budget. We're still working with the Agency of Ed. We're past the deadline, but we're still working with them on the long-term weighted ADM. We have a yield that was announced. It's not the final yield, but we probably won't hear that until the end of the legislative session. And then there is also talks about the governor and possibly doing a buy down. But if we look at those calculations based on the information we have, our estimated homestead tax rate based on this proposed budget is estimated at $1.19, which if you compare to what we reported last year on the stage was like $1.76. Sounds like it's gone way down, but the way it's calculated and with the appraisals and the state using a different way with the common level of appraisal, our estimated tax rate is $1.19, which is estimated tax rate under this new calculation is an increase of 13 cents, which is a 12.22% tax rate increase. I know this is an unacceptable number for anyone, and I do know that there are great efforts going on in this upcoming legislative session, and I'm hopeful that they can make some changes, maybe short-term, long-term changes to help impact the tax rate that all school districts throughout the state are experiencing. And I do want to point out that the estimated tax increase is 12.22%, is kind of, it reflects, it's kind of like inflated because we used one-time money last year. I do know the governor may be talking about using it again, but they used $118 million last year to lower the tax rate. We have to make that up. So it was like a 5.9% buy down, and you know, that if it was just the remaining, if they hadn't used the buy down, because they had to, you know, that remaining 6.32%, that is also impacted by the community's value in their homes and the reappraisals. So this tax increase, there would be a tax increase if we had no addition to our budget. So if we looked at a level budget, there'd be 4-cent increase on the budget if we were to add nothing at all. So there's many different players. Jacob can go into in-depth conversation with you if you want to ask any questions related to the appraisal process and this calculation. But if you look at how this would impact each of your properties, your homesteads, we did run some numbers so that you could see that if you had a $100,000 home, and again, this does not take in consideration income sensitivity. We have a lot of people in our community that qualify for income sensitivity. This does not take in consideration this, but if you had a $100,000 home, your taxes would be increasing for the year $130. So we're talking $10.83 per month. So this is an increase. I think we ran some calculations on the grand list, and Jacob didn't verify my numbers, but we're seeing that the new appraisal value is around $219,000 for homestead owners in our community. And so they would be looking at $260 for the year for an increase on their tax bill, which is $21.66 per month. These are all estimates. A lot can happen, but this is based on the information that we currently have. We put this in here because we wanted to remind you that this is a state-funded education system. It is a state problem with the high rise in education. It's something that we all need to work together on to solve this problem. But also the reappraisal did not help St. Johnsbury because your home values are much higher. So your taxes, even though they look like it's a lower rate, they actually go up. So the tax rate was adjusted down, but not enough to offset how sharply property values have increased. And just as a reminder about the State Education Fund, this is kind of a diagram, a visual showing you what we actually receive for funding and what kind of buckets of areas that we receive the funding from. So last year we had from the State Education Fund $11.7 million. It came from 7.8 million of that came from non-homestead property taxes. So these are your second homeowners, your businesses. 5.4 million was the homestead property tax, and then we had state revenues of 5.3. So you'll see that even though our budget went up tremendously, it's almost like the portion that St. Johnsbury has to contribute to now is larger because your property values are worth more. So instead of coming from the ed fund, the property tax increase just for non-homestead property taxes, we're anticipating based on this proposed budget going up $1 million and $0.9 million for the homestead property taxes. And state revenue is down. I had mentioned earlier that $100,000. So this is just to kind of show you how or where the funding comes from to pay for the budget. And I'm kind of pausing. That portion is on the budget, but we also wanted to share, I'd say it's kind of positive news, that we are doing our audit right now, and we are anticipating some potential surplus. And so when I mention surplus, it's really one-time funds remaining after a fiscal year. Obligations are met. It cannot be used for recurring expenses, and it must be used for one-time offsets or investments. And why we have a surplus is we had unanticipated revenues that we didn't anticipate on receiving. And our final audit figures are not available yet. But we have been reviewing options with the board to look at either offsetting taxes or investing in our facilities. And investing in our facilities is one of the number one things that we would like to use for the surplus. Mark Brown, our facilities director, who's here this evening, has been working very, very hard ever since he's joined us, looking at our facility needs and developing a sustainability plan for the next 5 years. And this plan, which is up over $4 million over the next 5 years, we had him look specifically at critical safety projects that we really need to have done and completed this summer. And so what we're hoping that the board makes a decision to authorize to use up a certain amount of this surplus to put into a capital reserve fund. And this would allow us to address immediate needs, but also give us the first start at addressing long-term needs. And so some of those immediate needs are related to fire sprinklers and door locks and gymnasium bleachers and repairs in the building, painting a section of the building. The critical ones have been identified at totaling $396,000. The first year budget is over $800,000 that Mark had identified, but even if we could tackle these first projects this summer, we really feel that it's an investment in the facility that we have for this community, and it's extremely important as we look at this facility being a community hub. Our facilities being used more and more from, when we had the floods, the Red Cross was here. It was an important place for us to have shelter for people. We've opened it up in the evenings. We have sporting events. The rec department is using our facility. Our community is using our playgrounds. There's so many different uses that this school has, as we strategically wanted our community engagement. We had a wonderful evening for first night here, but it's important for us to maintain the facility and not let it run down, because if we look over the past several years, and probably for many years, deferred maintenance has been cut first out of the budget. So it is an opportunity to use any of the surplus we have available to help us address some of those immediate needs. And so a couple of, this is just general information on what we may put on the ballot. It's information we presented to the board on Monday. It would be to approve, the first ballot language would be to approve the proposed budget. And this is the language that the community would see, that they would see. It is an education spending increase of $14,867 would be our ed spending per long-term weighted pupil, which is 11.29% higher than last year's spending per pupil, and also suggested language related to surplus Shall the voters of St. Johnsbury School District authorize the school board to allocate the FY 2025 surplus in the amount up to XXX to the Capital Reserve Fund for deferred maintenance and critical facility improvements. We are hoping maybe we can get some information from the auditor. We know we won't have the final audit done, but we are doing it very timely for the board meeting, so the board would have information on January 19th, but using language like up to allows you to be more flexible, not knowing what that surplus number is. So this was basically the update. We did provide level detailed line-by-line reports when you came in, also a summary for those that are watching online. They'd also be available on our website. They were in the board folder from Monday's meeting, but we encourage folks to engage in conversations, provide us feedback. We will be meeting again. The Finance Committee meeting is meeting on Monday, January 12th, and then the school board will regroup on January 19th. Our voting, we'll also have an informational meeting like we normally do the Monday before voting on March 2nd, and our voting will take place on March 3rd. So again, your feedback is very important to us and the school board as they make some difficult decisions on how we're going to proceed in a very short period of time. So I would open it up now if there are any questions. And I don't know if I could get one of my leadership team members to maybe, I'm looking at Kara. I don't think it's on, in case there are any questions. Or if there are any on Zoom. Yes, comments, questions, yep. If you could just state your name.
Yes, Brent Aber, St. Johnsbury. I have students that go here, or kids that go here. First, I just want to thank you all, everybody. This is really, really hard work, and you did a great job. You do a great job. I mean, looking through the budget, I was really excited. I don't think that there's any more emotional topic right now in the state of Vermont. Wait, no, there isn't. Than funding education. And, I have full confidence in the leadership of our state on both sides, all sides of the aisle. They're going to get this right. I mean, every time I read something in the news, on social media or whatever, everybody is behind this, and it's going to get fixed. And we cannot throw the proverbial baby out with the bathwater, and we have got to support our schools, our districts, and why support a budget? Why support this budget? The health of a community, there's no greater indicator than the school or the school district. And when you come into St. Johnsbury, that's what you notice. Ma'am, I think you alluded to the school being a center of gravity, the Red Cross, the playground. Everything that goes on here is centered on the school, okay? And the other two reasons I'd like to give you are associated with onlys. And so I recently went to a speech and debate down in Boston. Think about this. The only school from Vermont was from this school right here. The only one. And there's 45 schools from Boston, inner city Boston, Connecticut, New York, and 2 kids from this school, first and third, and won the debate portion. They won it. 9 kids. There was schools there that had 45 kids on their team, okay? The other only is the street justice. And Principal Ross, hopefully my research is correct me if I'm wrong, the only school in the state of Vermont that participated in that outstanding program at Littleton Courthouse, St. Johnsbury School District. So, I'm not sure if that's going to inspire everybody like it does me. Every time I come into the building to support the budget, I have to pay the same taxes that everybody else pays. But gosh darn it, this is going to get fixed, and until it does, we need to support our kids, we need to support the faculty, we need to support the staff, and we need to just ride this out, okay? It's the future of our community, it's the future of our country, and it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your second slide. Back one more. Go the other way. The 3 kids that are standing. That one right there. So on the left-hand side, that is my niece.
Oh,
She is artistic. She can be a bit challenging. She's a bit headstrong, but a real treat. She's one of my faves. So I want to throw that out there because if I'm critiquing a budget, it has absolutely nothing, no correlation whatsoever to how I want that little girl to succeed. So when I look at her, and she's, I believe, 6 right now, 7, we are going to have to leave her when she's 18 or 19 years old the prospect of paying for budgets that increase at twice, 3 times, 4 times the cost of living index. They accelerate all the time. Coupled with that, there are other factors. The same health costs that you cite in the budget, that's happening to every family right now, sometimes on a grander scale than what you propose in the budget. We're being challenged by our legislators that we pass budgets that are too much. So here we are, the voting public, and we're being told that we need to trim our expenses. We need to cut how much we spend. Where do we do it? According to the pie chart. And I do want to thank whoever put that together because I asked for the things that we have control over. And there's only 41% of that budget that we have any control over whatsoever. The local decisions section. So somehow or another, we have to figure out how we can get the budget to maximize educational opportunities and not exceed the cost of living index. It's a challenge for the board, and I know they work hard on this. And kudos to everyone that has put this together because you don't have the luxury of information at your fingertips. You're waiting on others to give you the right numbers. So you're asking for input, and we're not really 100% certain that what we're seeing right now are the cold, hard facts. So based on that, I'll throw a number out. 29 million. Can you do a budget for 29 million?
not easily. Any other questions or comments? Nope.
There's one question online from Christine Owens, and she asks, if we went down to 29 million, what would be cut potentially? What would that look like?
If you went down to 29 million? Jacob, you want to do some quick math? Transportation, You could eliminate, you'd reduce classroom teachers, you'd have larger class sizes. We are meeting the minimum standards. You could eliminate pre-K completely. Let's see, I'm not sure what I'm up to.
Clear when she says transportation. This isn't special education transportation. That's something we have to provide. This would be our gen ed kids. So that means no gen ed kids would have bus routes going out. That's what we're looking at when we say transportation.
I mean, we asked this question, right?
Yeah.
If we try to level fund it, and of course, Mike, level funded is not 29 million, it's 30, right? And the list I had in my head for that, which we talked about a bit on Monday, is transportation for gen ed, pre-K for everybody, and a classroom teacher from pretty much every grade, which would, for some cohorts, push us above the 25-to-1 state mandated classroom size ratio. So it would, it's not something we could do and dislike. It does have implications. So unfortunately, I think getting to numbers of that scale from that red section is, because that's such a small piece of the pie, the ramifications are very extreme. But we've certainly been asking that question ourselves too. Like, what would it have to be? What would it take?
So if your total salaries is 8 million for the general, and well, I guess you could add salaries, you have 11 million for all salaries in the building.
Transportation down there, about 700K. And then everything else has to come from kind of that human slice.
So does the initiative that you have going on with the additional 7 people come out of that?
No, the additional, the custodian would come out of regular, that position would, but the special educators come out of the special education
But if we
pocket.
didn't do the initiative, those services are still available, correct? It's just the fact that they're outsourced?
Oh, you mean C3P, the pilot initiative?
I don't remember what the...
Yeah.
Oh, the pilot program, you would pay a lot more. If you look at the summary of our budget, our expenditures, we're anticipating our expenditures to come down for special education for next year. That would increase. Yeah.
Then I would passionately reflect that in your budget overview, because if you look at this face value, you're adding 7 full-time employees and 3/4 of a human being.
Yep.
But it doesn't show that this is a savings factor.
Yeah.
It looks like additional.
Yep, that's a good point. Yep. It's really hard because we did such a small pilot program. We just don't send kids to an out-of-district placement or to our pilot program. It's really a team decision that's made, includes parents, includes all kinds of staff, includes case managers or special educators. They make a decision on what's going to be best for students. And so we anticipate the need is there and it's high. And so we feel we're going to be able to fill that program, but we also have the option if we don't, if parents choose. And we, as the LEA, and Kara's here, she could probably speak more intelligently about this, but she can help parents make decisions as well. We also have an opportunity for revenue. So if Kingdom East, they have 5 or 6 students they want to send our way, we could look at that as a school district. They could pay tuition to come here. They could be part of our program, and we could bill them for the cost as revenue. So there's real opportunity with having that program here to serve our students. And plus, there's really no place for them to go right now. They're full. Statewide, people have a problem with placements. we've heard of New Hampshire schools waiting for us to have, especially programs for littles, which we feel that if we can address their needs early on, right, we can help get them back on track, get back to the regular ed classroom, and be successful. Those programs there's not many that exist, and so I truly believe there's going to be cost savings.
Right.
Yep.
So
Kara, do you want to add anything to that? Or-
No, you did a great job.
I do want to add something. So that has actually been one of the things that I've been picking on these guys for 6 months about is seeing the numbers. And right now, because the pilot program is in its first year, we don't have exact numbers. But what we do have, so if you look at transportation costs for special education, just right there, that is $500,000. So something I didn't know coming in as a school board member, and I'm a taxpayer as well, is how much we spend to send just one child, one special education child out of district. That can be, on average, over $100K per child. What's our, for a regular ed kid, what's tuition cost now? 19? So that's a big difference, right? You know, regular ed, you're looking at 19K. Special ed, you're looking at 100K. Now, the 100K, we don't have the option, right? It's not a, oh, well, we don't feel like paying that. Like, that's out of our control. So how I look at this pilot program is that now it'll be a bit, because, right, we're not going to pull those kids that are in their programs out of it yet. But let's look at 10 years down the road when those kids have now gone on to other things. If we could minus out $500,000 right there, we're not even talking tuition or revenue or any of that. We're just talking $500,000 in transportation. I mean, there are kids that are being traveled over an hour one way for programs. So I'm right with you because I like black and white numbers. I want Kara to tell me that we're paying $70,000 instead of $100,000, but right now we don't have it to, or at least from what they've told me, we don't have it to speak on. But when I look at that, that's where I see that. And unfortunately, you're right, it's not short term, right? It's not this year. But in 5 years, we're going to be having a different conversation.
Maybe. We'll see what Act 73 brings.
Yeah, we sure will. Yes.
There's a question online, if you don't mind.
It's just a follow-up question from Christine Owens in response to Colleen's comments on some potential cuts. Her question is, how many classrooms can safely fit up to 25 students? Maybe that's a question for you, Karen, or maybe Mark.
It's probably a Mark question, and I don't know if we've actually looked at the square footage, but yeah, fire code does determine your classroom size. And Mark's...
The majority of our classrooms will not be able to hold 25 students.
Okay, Mark just said a majority of our classrooms will not hold 25 students. I would guess for sure the original building, those classrooms are very small. So, great question. Any other? Jacob, you look like you want to say something.
Not really.
Okay. You're just taking this all in. Oh. No other questions online? We are recording this and we will post it on the website. It'll be available for people to watch, and we have ways for people to provide feedback. We're very open to anyone sharing ideas, suggestions. Really, I think we've got to pull together as a community, pull together as a team, and we are looking at ways, trying to, as best we can, how we utilize federal funds, different configurations. Like, we're trying to look at everything. But it is difficult when you are restricted, where there's only a certain portion of the budget where you can really have a true impact. We know we will have long-term impact, and the strategies that Laura and Kara are working on, Jeff, working on supporting our students, utilizing staff in different ways. But that takes time, and I think we've made progress. We're actually seeing growth with our students. We didn't pull up an academic chart here, but we're seeing growth. It's small. It's not where we want people at, but we're in the right direction. And I think as we continue that work, we just need to be able to really look at what programs we would want to take away. Like we talk about pre-K like it's nothing, but there's such a need in our community that would hurt students. And we would not recommend programs that are going to have a huge impact on our young learners. As we know, early ed is extremely important. We could pick up in kindergarten, but there's ground that would be lost. And we do service a lot of students that are not included in our numbers that are 3-year-olds. We provide services for families in our community that we're required to provide and support them before they're even school age. So, and we do a lot of that work as well, and that's included and reflective in the special education portion of our budget. So again, I thank everyone for coming this evening. I appreciate your time, and again, just don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or utilize some of the tools we have to provide feedback as we try to make some tough decisions in the next less than a week or 10 days, yes, very shortly. So thank you.